In the Back of the Book segment tonight, this Sunday, President Ronald Wilson Reagan would have turned 100 years old. During his public career, the great communicator gave thousands of speeches, but perhaps is remembered best for the speech he gave at the Brandenburg Gate in West Berlin in 1987, where he challenged Soviet Communist leader Mikhail Gorbachev.
General Secretary Gorbachev, if you seek peace, if you seek prosperity for the Soviet Union and Eastern Europe, if you seek liberalization, come here to this gate. Mr. Gorbachev, open this gate. Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
I still get chills when I hear that. It turns out that even President Obama has been studying up on the Gipper and apparently dreams of being remembered as fondly as America's 40th president. Joining us now from Stanford University is Peter Robinson, an old friend and a former speechwriter for President Reagan. He wrote the Brandenburg Gate speech. Peter, it's great to see you. 100 years. President Reagan would have been 100 years old on Sunday. What made him so different, and why is President Obama now invoking Reagan so often?
Well, Ronald Reagan was a lovely man. He was an enormously talented man. He was a hardworking man. But fundamentally, Ronald Reagan was great because he was right. And the notion, in my judgment, having President Reagan and President Obama on the cover of Time magazine, or I happened to be watching the State of the Union address on CBS. I was looking at it on my computer, and I couldn't find the Fox News feed at that moment. And as the address ended, Katie Couric called it Reaganesque. I almost fell off my chair.
Oh,
There's
please.
a notion among the press, certainly Katie Couric, I believe the White House, the President Obama, there's a feeling that Ronald Reagan just had a bag of tricks. And if you study him very carefully, almost the way you might study a magician in Las Vegas, if you can figure out how he did his tricks, then you can do his tricks and sell the American people anything. But of course, Ronald Reagan wasn't engaging in trickery. He told stories about individuals because he believed individuals mattered. Fundamentally, they mattered more than the government. He told stories about American exceptionalism because he truly believed that this country was set apart from all others. So this notion that you can adopt Reagan's techniques and tell folksy stories and seem to talk about American exceptionalism, when in fact what you want to do is expand the government, create more dependency among people instead of genuine liberty and independence.
Everything that Reagan was against.
Wrong.
All of it was what Reagan was
against.
Everything
Peter,
that he was against. Peter, exactly. I was a junior little speechwriter in domestic policy in 1987 when the president gave that speech, and so many of us at the time saw that, and I remember just freezing when I heard him say that. The writing of that line, just very briefly, tell us how that stayed in the speech, and was it controversial at the time in the speechwriting pool?
Oh, well, it was extremely controversial. I went to Berlin to research the speech, ran into a woman, a West Berliner, who said, if this man Gorbachev is serious, he can prove it by coming here and getting rid of this wall. I knew immediately the president would have responded to that, put it in my notebook, went back to the White House, drafted a speech in which that call was the centerpiece, saw the president, he said he liked it, then it went out to staffing. And for the 3 weeks until the speech went out to staffing, until he delivered it, the State Department, the National Security Council, the diplomat on the ground in Berlin, all fought it. They said it would raise false expectations. If Howard Baker, then Chief of Staff, said it was unpresidential. I got into a fight with Colin Powell, who was then on the National Security. All of this went on, and finally Ronald Reagan just said he's going to give the speech. In fact, his final line, he was in the limousine on the way to the wall to deliver the speech. Ken Duberstein, the Deputy Chief of Staff, was in the limousine with him and told me this story that the president leaned over and slapped Duberstein on the knee and said, the boys at the State Department are going to kill me for this, but it's the right thing to do.
That
was Ronald Reagan. If something was the right thing to do, he did it.
No, that was just classic Reagan. And Peter, thank you so much for sharing those memories with us. And just a little housekeeping here. February 14th, right around the corner. You can get Valentine's Day inscriptions from my book, The Obama Diaries, on my website. Go to lauraingraham.com. Sign up for the Daily Fix, too. And Pinheads and